Hello, I'm Saummya Amarasinghe. With me, I have Marisa Fernando. We'll be sharing our observations on working with young women leaders from various parts in Sri Lanka. Search has been working on a series of short projects to empower young women leaders. One initiative focused on bringing young women leaders from different parts of the country together to build strong networks and cross-cultural understanding among these groups, while the other focused on equipping young women to counter hate speech online. Let me first give an introduction about these initiatives. Women in Technology, Countering Hate Speech, funded by UNDP, was the first short-term initiative we carried out for the young women leaders from June 2021 to October 2021, and it was immediately followed by the Young Women in Learning and Leadership initiative funded by the Norwegian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which continued from September 2021 to May 2022. In these initiatives, we worked with young women leaders and other collective groups from Ampara, Batiklo, Kurunegala and Putlam districts with two objectives, mainly to create an enabling environment for young women to actively participate in online counter-hate speech campaigns and to empower young women to collaboratively advocate for gender equality and promote social cohesion in their communities. As district coordinators, we had Muslim Women's Development Trust in Putlam district, Muslim Women's Research and Action Forum in Ampara district, Women's Resource Center in Kurunegala district, and Sarvodaya Shanti Sena in Batiklo district, who supported Search to implement the project in their locations. Let me now ask Marisa to speak about the different activities we carried out under these initiatives.
Under the Women in Technology project, we created a digital platform called Digital Sheroes. It was a closed Facebook group for the young women leaders in which they could safely and freely express their views and engage with each other. Along with this, we also developed two toolkits on countering hate speech, including gender-based hate speech, and a second one which looked at how to promote cross-district networking and dialogue on common issues on gender and the women and peace and security agenda. Along with this, we also conducted online training for the 103 young women leaders we had selected for this project on how to identify and counter online hate speech, and 4 virtual cross-district networking programs, as this was during the COVID period, for these young women leaders. When we started the Young Will initiative, which was a direct follow-up to this program, what we did with them was to do in-depth training on women's peace and security. So this allowed them to do a context assessment linked to the women peace and security framework. They were also provided mentoring from selected mentors who then supported these young women leaders to conduct this assessment, as well as to implement small grants based on the issues that they had selected from the context assessment. And finally, we were able to do an exchange visit, which allowed these young women who had been only virtually meeting their peers from the different districts to actually come together and have in-person interactions. However, while we were doing this, there were also some challenges we faced with young women leaders. Some came as a surprise and some were just not in our control. For instance, young women leaders expressed some fear towards joining social media, mainly due to their doubts on safety and security. Due to this, some of the young women who we were already working with in other initiatives dropped out of the project. For example, girls from the Muslim community had pressure from their parents to not engage on social media based work. Another challenge that we faced was that young women leaders were unable to participate in project activities due to social and cultural issues, as well as the impact of COVID-19 restrictions on travel. An escalation of COVID-19 pandemic slowed the project implementation and affected the participation of stakeholders in project activities. So to avoid these challenges, we used a hybrid approach using both in-person and online platforms for project implementation. Saummya, would you like to explain some of the rewarding moments despite these challenges?
Well, one of the inspiring aspects of working with these young women leaders was the fact that even after the projects concluded, some of these young women leaders started doing awareness raising on hate speech on social media and organized training programs for other youth in their communities and tried to pass the message to a wider audience. For example, Scott Goals and Youth Wings are two groups from Putlam district who continue to raise awareness on online hate speech and other related topics through their Facebook pages, and they also organize different programs in the district to engage other youth to build their capacity to make a safer digital space while supporting victims of cyber harassment and online gender-based violence. Another interesting observation we saw during the seed grant initiatives by the young women leaders was the significant change in terms of identifying the issues in their communities and planning of different interventions. Unlike in the previous projects where the young women leaders were involved, their approach as well as the objectives of the seed grants had a larger impact on the communities. These seed grants included trainings on online violence, awareness on microfinance loan systems, economic support systems for widows and unemployed women through capacity building, and documentary filmmaking on women-related issues. For instance, Kadirolial group in Batiklo focused on the issue of domestic violence in their community and carried out street dramas for school children to raise awareness on this issue. Also, the Idea group from Ampara introduced a low-cost handmade sanitary pad as a solution to issues faced by women due to the burdensome cost of menstrual products. Young women leaders in Kurunegala conducted several programs to support widows and unemployed women to uplift their economy through a self-driven business. In this conversation, we can also speak about the importance of including young women in the larger peace-building framework. Marisa, would you like to talk about that?
Yes, it's really important that young women are included in peace building, because when it comes to peace building processes as well as in decision making, youth are not engaged significantly. Even within the group of youth, young women are very much excluded. And so giving these excluded groups an opportunity to engage in even peace processes or formal capacity building is essential. And in our initiative, we were able to offer this opportunity for hearing impaired women leaders, a woman leader with a visual disability, as well as girls from the indigenous community. Similarly, women from rural parts of the country do not get the same opportunities as their counterparts from the urban sector to raise their voices on issues that affect them. This initiative gave these young women from rural areas the opportunity to raise issues that affect their community. So therefore, engaging young women is essential to ensure that there is equal representation of both young men and women within the peace building framework. In addition to this, young women face many challenges during conflicts and other religious ethnic tensions. And every day we hear of women becoming victims within the cyberspace due to online harassment, bullying, and sexual and gender-based violence. Hence, it is essential that they are well capacitated to become young leaders in their communities.
So with these ideas highlighted by Marisa, I would like to wrap up this conversation with a concluding remark by saying, Search Sri Lanka is extremely happy about our interventions with these young women leaders who have now been recognized by their communities as peace drivers and change agents, and we are hopeful that their continuous engagement in peace building will strengthen social cohesion in their communities.